We are still counting votes from these midterms. So the music continues. We are tracking the House results. We also join you on this first workday. Since the news broke, Democrats really defying history and keeping control of the United States Senate. And by holding power in the Senate and holding off most of the extreme Trump candidates, they have crushed the talk of any red wave. Democrats turned things around, upending a lot of the often wrong conventional wisdom that comes out of Washington. Have any idea that tonight's reality was even possible? You'd have to tune out lots of political noise and punditry. You'd have to check in with people like Michael Moore or James Carville, who actually got the election more correct than most on the record, including in some appearances right here on The Beat. And James Carville is back live on The Beat tonight. What's up, James, for these historic results? He'll be here in a moment. He's my first guest. But here's how it went down. Democrats clinching Arizona late Friday night, and then the big one, Nevada, over the weekend. Here's how it played out.
I believe that maybe with very limited, there it is. That's the check mark.
Democrats will retain control of the United States Senate.
You have defied history here.
This election is a victory and a vindication for Democrats.
This election, Nevadans rejected the far-right politicians working to divide us.
Now, there are many factors here. Historical precedents apply less in unprecedented times. Let me repeat that, because we hear so much about precedents. They matter in law and in politics, the media. It's understandable that sometimes people look to what happened before as a guidepost or a precedent, as we say, for what might happen again. But we live in unprecedented times right now. I bet you've noticed that. So precedents are a more limited tool to make sense of anything. And what is unprecedented? I'm not going to list it all, but this was the first election since Roe v. Wade was summarily overturned. It's one of the only elections in the modern era where you have one party, the GOP, literally rallying around the idea that they should hold power over elections instead of voters. Running for office, asking voters, give them power so that they might deny you power in the future, to say nothing of their minimization of the insurrection or the attack on the Speaker of the House's family. Now, as we reported Friday, the obvious humiliating failure of any red wave to materialize, which was memorialized quite iconically by the beached elephant on that New Yorker cover, this is the kind of reality that both parties seem to be facing this week. Top Republicans have previously embraced conspiracy theories. Many have tried to basically mislead or lie to voters and try to create an inflated view of Donald Trump, of his ideas, his power, whether he is a mainstream person who should be the leader of a democracy. They've done that over the past few years, but I can tell you as we start this new week, some are reacting to this clapback with something approaching sobriety, reckoning that getting even higher from their own Trump supplier is no road back to power. And on the other side, Democrats just taking the victory lap.
So I feel good, and I'm looking forward to the next couple of years.
When Democrats deliver, Democrats win.
Our democracy was on the ballot. Our planet was on the ballot. Personal freedom was on the ballot.
Those who were most closely aligned with the former president underperformed.
This was just a rejection of that extremism.
What is our plan? What are we running on? What do we stand for? What are we hell-bent to get done? There's no plan to do that.
Several of the final voices you heard in that montage we put together for you are sad Republicans talking about whether they even have a good plan, pushing each other in public. Meanwhile, the party is still eyeing a narrow path that could put leaders like Kevin McCarthy back as Speaker of the House. Still undecided at this hour, NBC has an estimate that involves a tight finish where Republicans would win the chamber by just 2 seats. That estimate is not final. It is close. Now, nothing's final until the last votes are counted in these last races. But had it been a wave, had it been a red margin of dozens of seats, then I wouldn't be talking to you about this right now. The outcome of a few final close races would matter to those districts, but it wouldn't matter to the national news and who controls Congress. You wouldn't be listening to newscasters a week out. We might not know tomorrow night either, 7 days out from the election, talking about whether 1 or 2 races could squeeze McCarthy back into the speakership if he holds his entire Republican caucus in the vote. What I'm telling you is the very length of time it is taking to see whether Republicans barely take back Congress actually reinforces the message that undercuts the weeks and weeks of red wave talk. It accurately shows the nation that this is a precarious win if it becomes a win at all, a photo finish even with the well-known headwinds for Democrats, which we've covered on this show. We've had economists on this show talking about how the inflation is a problem. I think everybody knows that. And part of the inflation factually is tied to some of Biden's policies. But there's also inflation in other countries. There's also a lot of different issues on the ballot. And a nation now rejecting Trumpism again, just as it did by 7 million votes in the last presidential cycle, and as it did by 3 million votes in 2016, is a nation that, unprecedented or not, seems to continue to make it very clear at least what it doesn't want. And I'm not telling you that's an endorsement of everything Biden says or everything the Democrats are running on, but it certainly is a rejection of the people who were supposed to have dozens of seats in a red wave. For Mr. Trump, well, the Electoral College didn't save Trumpism in this midterm. Indeed, it has a lot more Republicans talking openly about trying to find something else. If there were any waves of any sort, they were of a different kind. A woman's wave that upended turnout in states liberal and conservative. Something of a youth wave, younger voters showing they can turn out in off-year elections. They pay attention. They also shifted more towards Democrats than any other age group. And a larger reckoning for the extreme right-wing politics that have predominated part of the Republican Party, but never, even after all this, found a majority in America. Those are some of the serious points. On a lighter note, longtime viewers know there is one thing I always say, and I say it over and over again, although lately James Carville may have borrowed the phrase. Once the hay is in the barn, well, there's not much more to do. The hay is in the barn. I'm sure you've heard me say that if you watch the show. The hay is in the barn ain't red, and that's just what counting the hay shows. Now we will bring in the Raging Cajun himself, James Carville, a legendary Democratic strategist. How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm doing a lot better than I did a week ago when I was on here. I was a little nervous, but, we got it pretty close. As a continual rural education, every now and then a blind squirrel finds an acorn.
Wow, I learned so much here. You know how I always say the hay is in the barn. You know that.
Yeah, of course you do. The blind squirrel finding the acorn, absolutely.
So take the hay, take the acorn, take the headwinds, right. Which, you and I always talk about the realities. There's some people who say, Biden's perfect. He could do no wrong. No. I can point to issues from student loans to the democracy question in America where he has been the more responsible leader. And I can point to areas where people are rightly questioning where the country's headed. And yet, even with those headwinds, what do you count in the, James, in the hay and the acorns, given that the Democrats had a much better night than many said?
Well, first of all, we won a lot of close races. And just take Nevada. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for someone to figure out if the COVID death rate might have had an effect on the final vote. All right. And they had to do everything perfectly. I was very close to that campaign, and they did. And the margins were just like that. That was one of the bigger wins that we had. And what really mattered in here in the commentary, and we've got to take our hats off to swing voters. Yeah, swing voters. Remember them? We were told they didn't exist. Well, there are not that many of them, but boy, are they influential. And you can see it in a lot of different areas, and you can look at differentials between gubernatorial campaigns and Senate campaigns. And in an election this tight, everything matters, even the forgotten great swing voter that we used to obsess on. So swing voter is back in style.
Yeah, back in style. And as you say, the swing voters are sometimes maligned for being late deciders, or, some pundits use that term, low information. But there's something else that they may be, which are people who look up and say they're not indoctrinated. What are they hearing? And when what you're hearing, I made this point in our coverage with Rachel last week, when what you're hearing is minimizing the insurrection, joking about the violence, all these other things, it's hard to imagine them breaking red. As for a week ago, James, people would say, I'm biased because I love you. The truth is, I love you because you keep it real. It's not personal. It's not like we vacation together. So I find you to be a useful person to speak with. And so before the election, there were all the headlines. Red wave, super red wave. You, along with another friend of the beat, were more clear in your view of what the evidence suggested about the chances for the Democrats. Let me show you what now Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is saying. He is in power. That part is resolved. A lot of folks were writing that political obituary in advance. Here's Chuck Schumer speaking out.
And I say to my Republican colleagues, Embracing the MAGA way of divisiveness, nastiness, negativity without constructive compromise. That's how Donald Trump wanted it, and some of our colleagues follow him. That will be a disaster. That will be wrong. It'll be bad for America, but it will also be bad for the Republican Party, because these elections have shown that the MAGA Republican way is not where the American people want to be.
Here's a politics question for you, James. What's he doing? Because historically, it's like the Briar Patch. If you really think that they're going to make this mistake one or two more times, I don't know if you listen to Daft Punk, but they said, one more time, then let them do it politically. There's an ethical question about that. But what's he doing there, giving out free advice? Is it on the level? What's going on?
There's no danger that they'll take this advice. And I think Senator Schiff was smart enough to know that. Okay. And MAGA still runs the Republican Party. You understand? That's who they are. And they're not going to change. They have everything invested in this. And they'll say, look, we badly lost because we weren't MAGA enough. We tried to run some of these squishy candidates. Of course, it's not true, but that's what they're going to tell themselves. And they can't get off of it. They're on the crack. And you just watch. And there's always thing about, oh, no, wait a minute, we're going to get the Republican Party back and we're going to have George H.W. Bush's. No, you're not. It's gone. Bye-bye. And MAGA is running the show. And I suspect they're going to run the show for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Well, that's a take on it. As you say, it's almost like Schumer's positioning himself to get credit for saying what he believes is the true, reasonable thing. Yeah. So, look, I got to ask you about...
He just won a big election. He can be a great American in the well of the Senate. He's entitled to that. He can be a very distinguished citizen.
Yes, he can be high-minded, sure. Hey, I'm Ari Melber. Thanks for watching The Beat. I wanted to let you know I'm writing a foreword to the January 6th committee's full report, which is coming out soon from HarperCollins. You can go pre-order the book right now, and it'll come to you first when the report comes out in the fall or whenever the government releases it. Just search Melber Jan 6th on Amazon or your favorite independent book site and click pre-order. You'll be the first to get both the report and my new piece on the coup conspiracy. You can also go to melberbook.com and order it there.